There is no one quite like George Archibald. Mild-mannered and modest, he has nevertheless risked his own life for those of cranes. He has fought to protect natural habitats in the DMZ between North and South Korea, Afghanistan, Russia, and Cuba. He has walked into the centers of government and in the path of the impending extinction of the 15 existing crane species worldwide. He is a humble man, but is universally recognized as one of the greatest conservation scientists and ecological champions of all time.
When you're trying to inspire people, you can tell them all these different facts, but what really is going to make a difference is when you touch their hearts and their spirits and connect. George has done an amazing job of sharing how cranes have inspired him.
George Archibald has managed to traverse the geographic boundaries normally closed by political, social-economic, and religious differences. Using dissemination with imagination, he puts his faith on the wings of the crane.
When I started my work on the Korean demilitarized zone, I was laughed at. The military wouldn't think of letting me in there. But once I had my foot in the door, and once I connected to the cranes, there was a great interest in Korea at many levels, and the whole thing sort of took off.
George is clearly a person that understands very clearly that you got to get everybody on the same level of understanding, and then you move them forward a step. And you get them again, and you move them forward a step. And I've been in many parts of the world where it's sort of the mark of George Archibald has been here.
I have no formal training in diplomacy. I just had wonderful parents that taught us how to live a decent life.
Co-founding the International Crane Foundation with college friend Ronald Sowie in 1973, George Archibald has traveled far and wide to fight for the natural habitats of cranes. He has met with world leaders and common people alike, all the while spreading his message of conservation in a manner that is heartfelt, yet qualified with the knowledge of a scientist.
When he goes to these places, he's been able to be respected and to make friends with people from high-level ministers to major donors to the local people working in the field on a grassroots level. Where people see obstacles, he sees possibilities and goes in with an open heart, and people listen to him.
George does it because he cares so much about cranes. That's really what drives him on, and that's an honest, true agenda.
Archibald impacted a wide range of people through the exposure of an unlikely but not surprising relationship with a special whooping crane named Tex. Coming to the International Crane Foundation in 1976, Tex was particularly important as she represented 2 of the 8 remaining bloodlines of whooping cranes in the world. In captivity, she could help to expand the population. But there was a problem.
She thought she was a human, not a crane. Her genes could not be replicated without the assistance of a surrogate mate that's a human. So I volunteered to do that. When I first started working with her the first summer in 1976, she wanted to dance all the time because she was forming a pair bond with me. So she would come in to our house and she would put her beak up in the air and go brrr, brrr, and point towards the door. And that means, I want you to follow me. And she would start bowing and leaping. And so I would do like deep knee bends and jump up in the air and run around with her, throw sticks in the air.
George would go out and dance with the bird, and someone would run out and inseminate her. And this went on for 5 years, and the last year she did lay an egg, and it was fertile.
Weeks later, Gee Whiz hatched, and George Archibald was an overnight sensation. Soon the world knew about the International Crane Foundation. Archibald even accepted an invitation to appear on the Johnny Carson show.
Before I went over to visit Tex. She came out in the yard and she danced a little bit around and said goodbye to her and went up and looked at the chick. Gee Whiz was now a couple of weeks old and he was doing very well. And I felt very, very good.
The next morning, Archibald prepared for the show, not knowing that as he slept, his world had changed.
Would you welcome George Archibald?
Here at ICF, the night before, a raccoon broke into the pens and killed a few birds, including Tex. And the people here at ICF had to make a very heart-wrenching decision on whether to tell George, but they thought, no, he'd rather know.
Should we say what happened yesterday?
It's a very appropriate occasion. Last night, while I was on my way to California, Tex was killed by a predator.
Do you believe that?
And the studio audience just went, oh, like this. And all across the country, I think a good portion of the 22 million people did the same. And I think whooping cranes likely got a lot more sympathy through Tex's death than they did through her dance. I just couldn't believe the timing. And I felt a great sense of peace.
We feel that our work has been successful because her line is continued in Gee Whiz, and she'll be hoopers to dance with in the future.
And she has film to pass on to her young.
Right.
You know, so when they're old enough to understand it, they can say, hey, there's Mom.
Taking the knowledge from working with Tex, Archibald continued the captive breeding program at the International Crane Foundation, leading to a major turnaround in the population of North American whooping cranes. Once down to 10 to 15 birds, today they number in the several hundreds and serve as an inspirational success story. A place that Archibald often gets back to for his own inspiration is the former research cabin of renowned nature writer and conservationist Aldo Leopold. Today, Indianapolis Zoo President Michael Crowther meets with Archibald to discuss ideas on conservation and to deliver an important message.
George, you are a hero for the planet, and there's absolutely no question that there are wild things and wild places that are stronger and healthier today because you have been their champion. And so on behalf of the nominating committee and the jury, I'm honored to inform you that you will receive a $100,000 personal award and the Lilly Medal for your achievements in conservation. You are the 2006 recipient of the Indianapolis Prize.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Well, I represent a team. I feel that this should be shared with lots of other people. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything that you really do.
Thanks.
With over 45 programs in 20 countries, the International Crane Foundation continues the fight to improve crane populations worldwide. George Archibald remains as their champion and can still be found at ICF or traveling the world to tell the story of his beloved cranes.
A hero is somebody who has made a difference, who's done things beyond what your average person does, and helps people to see hope in the world and to see the potential in themselves. And I think George has touched many, many people on this level.
He is an environmental hero of the first order. Very few of us have the privilege of looking and realizing that, geez, I've made that much of a difference.
The real essence of the whole mission is on the wings of the wild cranes. They depend on us. We have to be their voice. So it's been a great honor for me to be the voice for the cranes.